OMG, Jenny done forever. Jenny does not walk into that restaurant expecting to end her marriage. She walks in hoping the anonymous message is a cruel setup. But the second that private door opens, every old fear comes back at once. Sumit is sitting beside another woman. She is wearing bridal jewelry. His mother is smiling at her. Both families look relaxed, almost like this meeting has happened before. Then the woman places her hand on Sumit's arm and calls him her husband. That is the moment Jenny stops hearing explanations and starts noticing evidence. The matching rings, the family photographs, the private room. Sumit's panic. None of it looks accidental. It looks organized. It looks protected. More importantly, it looks like Jenny is the only person who is never supposed to see it. But the biggest question is not whether Sumit secretly married someone else. The deeper question is whether he has been building a second future while asking Jenny to keep trusting the first one. Because one hidden meeting can be called a terrible mistake. Months of private conversations, vague promises, family pressure, and a secret ceremony cannot. That becomes a pattern. And when a message appears on Sumit's phone saying Jenny cannot know what happened at that ceremony, the entire story changes. This is no longer just about suspected cheating. It is about emotional betrayal, divided loyalty, financial pressure, and a man who may have promised two women completely different versions of his future. The woman beside him may not be Jenny's enemy either. She may be the second person who believed his carefully edited truth. By the end of this confrontation, Jenny will realize that the so-called secret wife is not the biggest threat to her marriage. The real threat is Sumit's habit of delaying every painful choice until somebody else is forced to pay for it. Hours before that confrontation, Jenny receives an anonymous message with the restaurant's address. The sender warns her not to tell Sumit she is coming. At first, Jenny suspects someone is trying to create chaos. That is the reasonable reaction. Anonymous messages rarely arrive with good intentions, especially when they attack a relationship. Then a photograph appears. Sumit is walking into the restaurant with his mother and an unfamiliar woman. He is not passing them on the street. He is not standing at a distance. He is walking beside them like he knows exactly where the evening is going. That picture does not create Jenny's suspicion. It gives shape to suspicion that was already growing. For the past week, Sumit has been leaving the house more often. He has been turning his phone away when messages arrive. He keeps offering explanations that sound ordinary on their own but become suspicious when connected. He is helping a relative. His mother needs him. There is a family problem Jenny would not understand. That is not simple privacy. That is information control. Jenny follows the address because uncertainty has become more painful than the truth. She would rather be hurt by facts than comforted by another explanation she cannot verify. So Jenny walks into that room expecting proof of dishonesty. She does not expect another woman to call Sumit her husband. Sumit immediately introduces the woman as Meera, the daughter of an old family friend. He says both families are discussing a business arrangement. In isolation, that explanation could work. Families meet. Business deals happen. Traditional clothing and jewelry can appear at formal gatherings. Sumit's explanation becomes weaker. Jenny asks why Meera called him her husband. Sumit says Jenny heard the wrong word. Meera does not confirm that. She looks down and remains silent. Then Jenny notices the rings. Sumit and Meera appear to be wearing matching bands. Sumit quickly removes his and claims it belongs to his father. That reaction says more than the ring. If the ring had an innocent explanation, he could calmly explain it while leaving it on his hand. Instead, his first instinct is to remove the evidence Jenny has noticed. That is not clarification. That is damage control. Meera is only a family friend. The gathering is only business. Jenny misheard the word husband. The ring belongs to his father. His mother makes things worse. She does not deny that Meera has been discussed as a possible match. Instead, she tells Jenny that some marriages are accepted by society while others bring endless conflict. That statement exposes the emotional purpose of the meeting. She represents family approval, cultural comfort, social acceptance, and possibly financial stability. Jenny represents love, but she also represents years of conflict, family resistance, and the risk that Sumit may remain separated from his parents. Sumit is not simply choosing between two women. He is looking at two versions of himself. With Jenny, he is the man who fought his family for love. With Meera, he could become the son his parents always wanted. His failure is not that he feels that conflict. His failure is that he explores both futures while telling neither woman the complete truth. Jenny asks to see his phone. Sumit refuses. Then, he says marriage should include trust. Jenny reminds him that their marriage survived because he promised complete honesty. Sumit responds by treating her request for proof as the real problem. The argument is no longer about one dinner. It becomes a struggle over whose version of reality will control the moment. Then the phone lights up. A message from Meera appears on the lock screen. She cannot know what happened at the ceremony. Jenny reads it before Sumit turns the phone away. That sentence destroys the business meeting story. It confirms something happened before this dinner. It confirms Meera expected secrecy. Most importantly, it confirms Jenny was deliberately excluded. Sumit now claims the ceremony was only a family blessing. Jenny asks the question he cannot answer. Why would his wife be excluded from a blessing involving another woman? Meera finally admits that a ceremony happened 3 weeks earlier. She does not call it a legal wedding. She does not call it an engagement. She says both families attended and Sumit understood what the ceremony represented. He can tell his parents he respected their wishes. He can allow Meera to believe a future is coming. He can tell Jenny he never technically married anyone else. When a married person secretly participates in a ceremony that another family understands as the start of a future union, the paperwork becomes almost secondary. The emotional boundary has already been crossed. Jenny stops arguing with Sumit and asks to speak with Meera alone. The moment Jenny and Meera compare stories, that control disappears. Meera says Sumit's parents introduced them months earlier. She claims Sumit initially refused because he was married to Jenny. That detail matters because it proves he understood the boundary from the beginning. He knew this was not a harmless introduction. He knew private meetings with Meera would threaten his marriage. According to Meera, his position changed later. He began meeting her without Jenny's knowledge. He said his marriage was becoming impossible. He claimed Jenny was preparing to return permanently to America. Jenny is told the family situation is difficult but manageable. Meera is told the marriage is nearly finished. Sumit's parents are told he is considering the future they want. Sumit does not solve painful problems. He postpones them until the consequences become unavoidable. In the short term, that can look like peace because nobody is forcing him to choose. In the long term, every delayed decision increases the damage. Meera says she believed the ceremony was the beginning of a future marriage. She expected Sumit to separate from Jenny before anything became legal. At first, she looks like the secret wife who knowingly entered another woman's marriage. But her explanation suggests she may also have been manipulated. She may have believed Jenny was already leaving. Jenny and Meera are not competing with the same facts. They have been placed inside separate realities built by the same man. Sumit interrupts and accuses Meera of exaggerating emotional conversations. Pay attention to what he does not deny. He does not deny the meetings. He does not deny talking about Jenny returning to America. He argues about what those conversations were supposed to mean. Then Meera reveals she recorded a conversation after the ceremony. In the audio, Sumit appears to promise that he'll finish the old chapter before beginning a new life his family can accept. Jenny knows exactly what the old chapter sounds like. Sumit claims he was discussing a business problem. Technically, the recording does not mention Jenny by name. That gives him room to argue. But his explanation only works if everyone ignores the context. The conversation happened after a ceremony involving Meera. It happened during private discussions about their future. Meera believed it referred to Jenny. Sumit never corrected that belief until he was exposed. Sumit may never have clearly said, Jenny and I are getting divorced. But if he repeatedly spoke like the marriage had no future, he encouraged Meera to invest emotionally in him. Jenny asks one direct question. Did he ever tell Meera he planned to leave the marriage? Sumit pauses. That silence becomes the closest thing to a clear answer Jenny has received. He finally admits he said things while under pressure, but he claims he never intended to follow through. That defense traps him. If he never intended to leave Jenny, then he knowingly misled Meera. If he genuinely considered leaving, then he hid a major emotional decision from Jenny. Either way, someone was being used. Some viewers would say Sumit was trapped between his wife and his family. They might point to emotional pressure, cultural expectations, property, and financial support. A section of the audience would see him as weak, frightened, and desperate to avoid losing everyone. Other viewers would reject that defense. They would argue that weakness becomes cruelty when other people repeatedly suffer because someone refuses to make a decision. Sumit may be under intense pressure. He may also be fully responsible for how he handles it. Sumit finally reveals the family ultimatum. His parents threatened to cut off contact unless he met Meera and attended the ceremony. They also threatened to remove him from family property and end financial support. Emotional independence becomes harder when money, housing, inheritance, and community are connected to family approval. Financial control turns a romantic decision into a survival problem. He protected himself from discomfort by placing both women inside a lie. Sumit wanted to avoid losing Jenny. He wanted to avoid losing his family. He wanted to avoid disappointing Meera's family. He wanted to avoid financial consequences. So, he transferred the consequences to Jenny and Meera. They became the people who would eventually absorb the humiliation, confusion, and betrayal he was trying to escape. Then his mother admits she hoped the ceremony would become a real marriage. She believed Jenny would leave once she understood the family would never accept her. Meera was used as proof that another future remained available. Jenny was supposed to feel replaceable. Sumit was supposed to see that approval would return if he surrendered. Jenny asks whether Sumit signed anything. His mother produces a document containing Sumit and Meera's names. For several seconds, Jenny thinks she is looking at a marriage certificate. Sumit insists it is not legally binding. He says it covers property expectations, family responsibilities, and a proposed future union. Meera confirms there is no government registration. The document proves the arrangement moved beyond a casual introduction. Sumit placed his name beside Meera's in a written agreement while remaining married to Jenny. He may have convinced himself he was not cheating because there was no legal marriage. But betrayal does not begin at registration. It begins when someone creates a future their partner is not allowed to see. She does not fight Meera. She does not scream about legal definitions. She tells Sumit the mystery is no longer whether he secretly married another woman. The real issue is that he built a second life behind her back. Every private meeting required a choice. Every hidden message required another choice. Signing the document required another choice. Standing inside that ceremony required another choice. This was not one moment of weakness. It was a system of deception. Sumit begs her not to end their marriage inside a restaurant controlled by his family. Jenny answers that his family did not force him to lie inside their home. His family may have created the opportunity. They may have issued the ultimatum. They may have encouraged Meera. But Sumit decided what Jenny was allowed to know. Jenny places the ring on the table and leaves. Outside, Sumit follows her and makes the most painful confession of the night. He admits part of him wanted to know whether life would be easier with someone his family accepted. He did not act only from fear. He acted from temptation.
He was tempted by peace.
He was tempted by approval. He was tempted by a relationship that would not require him to defend every choice he made. He says he never stopped loving Jenny. That may even be true. But love is not the only force shaping a marriage. Fear, resentment, exhaustion, and social pressure can exist beside love. Sumit may love Jenny. He still created a relationship where she could not feel safe. Jenny tells him that doubt could have been discussed. If he was tired, he could have said so. If he questioned their future, he could have admitted it. If he felt trapped, they could have faced that problem together. What destroyed the trust was not uncertainty. It was hidden experimentation. Sumit was privately testing an easier future while asking Jenny to keep investing in their current one. He asks for one final chance. Jenny refuses to promise reconciliation. She tells him he must end the family agreement because it is wrong, not because he expects her to return. If Sumit rejects Meera only to win Jenny back, then his decision still depends on a reward. Real accountability means ending the arrangement even if Jenny leaves permanently. Back inside the restaurant, Meera reaches the same conclusion. She refuses to become the replacement wife. She tells Sumit's family she was presented as the respectable answer to his complicated marriage. Now she understands she was being used to pressure Jenny and protect the family's image. Meera removes her ring. Sumit's mother blames Jenny for influencing her. Meera pushes back and says Sumit's lies created the entire disaster. They were both given different versions of the same future. This is where hypothetical fan reaction would become intense. Some viewers would say Jenny should leave immediately because the pattern is too familiar. Sumit tells partial truths until evidence forces him to confess. Other viewers would argue that his final honesty deserves some credit. They might believe the family pressure was extreme and that rejecting the agreement could represent genuine growth. A third group would focus on Meera. They would ask how much Sumit promised, how long the meetings continued, and whether he ever planned to protect her from humiliation. Trust is not repaired by proving one accusation was technically wrong. Sumit cannot say, "I did not legally marry Meera," and expect the marriage to return to normal. He has to explain why Jenny was excluded, why Meera was encouraged, why the document was signed, why the ceremony happened, and why honesty arrived only after exposure. Jenny stays away and begins considering a return to America. Sumit sends message after message, but she does not answer right away. Her silence is not a game. It is space. For years, many of Jenny's decisions have been shaped by Sumit's promises. Now she needs to make one decision without being pulled by his fear, guilt, or urgency. Sumit eventually rejects the family agreement. He tells his parents he will accept the financial and emotional consequences. He acts only after Jenny removes her ring, and Meera walks away. Some viewers would call that courage. Others would call it crisis management. Will he maintain his decision when there is no guarantee Jenny will return? Will he become financially independent? Will he create real boundaries with his family? Will he tell painful truths before they become emergencies? Those answers determine whether this is genuine change or another temporary promise made during a crisis. The most likely future conflict is not another ceremony. It is the long, uncomfortable process of proving the secrecy has ended. Jenny may want more transparency. Sumit may feel watched. His parents may continue blaming her. Financial pressure may increase. Meera's family may demand answers about the agreement. Even if Jenny stays, the relationship cannot return to its old form. Jenny now knows that when Sumit feels trapped, he may create separate stories instead of making one clear choice. And Sumit now knows that love will not protect him from consequences forever. When Jenny finally meets him again, she does not immediately demand a divorce. She also does not put the ring back on. Why should she believe his next promise when every previous promise came with a hidden condition? Sumit has no immediate answer. Maybe that is the first completely honest response he has given. Because this marriage is not in danger only because another woman appeared. It is in danger because Jenny finally understands what she has been fighting. She was not fighting one secret wife. She was fighting Sumit's fear of choosing, his need for approval, his dependence on family security, and his belief that difficult truths could always be delayed. Now the final decision belongs to Jenny, but the bigger question belongs to the audience. Should she judge Sumit by the fact that he finally rejected the arrangement, or by the fact that he accepted it until he was caught?